As a Kentucky fan who has dealt with the trials and tribulations of Cal's last 5 years at Kentucky, how mad or upset would you be if he won a national championship this year?
I'd be furious. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of Not Top 25, live here from the Chesterfield living room once again, following a great weekend across America, the round of 64 and the round of 32. Best weekend of the year, unfortunately leading to the most depressing Monday of the year. Arguably more depressing than the Monday after the Super Bowl. I think it's not even close. What a great weekend it was. A weekend that was a little bit shocky, but filled with some fantastic games, great memories, and there's just a lot to talk about heading into the Sweet 16 with some surprising upsets, some takes that were right, some takes that were wrong, some brackets busted, some brackets still intact. Keaton, how's your bracket looking so far?
Man, my thing was busted after the first game. I can't believe I took Ohio State over TCU. Like as soon as the first game happened, it was over with.
So
I think I'm in third or fourth place in all my bracket challenges. I mean, I'm just not having a good time this year.
so it took you less than 2 hours to lose that $1 billion. It took me 2, so I'm not that far behind you. Unfortunately, my bracket was a tad bit of a hate watch. I had you guys losing to UCF in the first round. I had Arkansas losing to Hawaii. I just woke up one day and was like, screw it, why not? I had Miami of Ohio beating Tennessee. But to my credit, I did have some predictions correct. I had VCU beating North Carolina, which may have been a square upset pick, but I'll still pat myself on the back for that one. I also had my take of all time, Iowa beating Florida. For you frequent listeners, I've been saying from the middle of February that Florida would lose in the round of 32 is the champion's curse, and it came to life. And I'm proud of myself, man. I stood on business with a take, and it finally happened.
Yeah, clap it up for you, man. That was a hell of a take, and it came to life. I think the basketball gods finally did you a favor. Came through for you, man. So congrats on that. Yeah, it was an exciting first weekend. There's a lot to unveil and talk about in this Sweet 16 matchups. I guess we'll just go ahead and get started in the East if that's fine with you. First and foremost, I just want to say I think the East region games are arguably going to be better games than the Final Four games. I mean, you got Duke, you got Pitino and St. John's, you got Izzo at Michigan State and Hurley. Like all of these programs and coaches, besides Shire, he'll get there eventually, I believe. But all these guys are legends. They're well proven in the sport, and I'm excited to just watch these games, let alone, the Final Four down the road. But we'll start with Duke and St. John's. I mean, Duke took care of business against TCU. They got their big man back. I know they had a scare against Siena, but Caleb Foster's still kind of to be determined against St. John's. I would love to see Pitino make a run, man. I don't know how you feel. You're a Kentucky guy. You've got some history with Pitino, but I would love to see him make a run. I'm going to keep this one kind of short and sweet. I think experience matters when you get to this point in the tournament. And I think St. John's has quite a bit more experience than Duke. Not having Caleb Foster also, is kind of a gut blow to Duke. The Johnnies are hot right now, man. And I think they've got a legitimate chance to pull out the W.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the whole Rick Pitino dilemma with Kentucky fans and college basketball fans in general. I think if you stay along long enough, you can either go two ways. You live long enough to become a villain, or you live long enough to become a hero. And Pitino is definitely leaning towards the hero side. Because let's say, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, he's one of the more hated names in the sport, man. And then now, I think he's one of the most beloved coaches and most respected coaches. I mean, his name is now up there with K that people are mentioning, which that wouldn't have happened if he didn't come back to college basketball and get to bring his fourth team to the Sweet 16. And it's just hard not to respect how much of a legend Rick Pitino is, man. Wherever he goes, he wins.
Mm-hmm.
And I have Duke advancing in my bracket, but there's a part of me that's thinking, all right, this might be one of, if not his last rodeo. And he's got a good squad, a battle-tested squad, because they were rough at the beginning of the year. John Shire's only 38 years old. This is probably the best coach he has ever faced.
Yeah,
let alone in this big of a game.
Without a doubt. And I was thinking about this earlier, man. You could arguably hang Pitino's rafter at every program he's ever coached at in college. I mean, you got Providence, you got y'all, you got Louisville. I mean, even Iona, like he got them to the dance. And like that doesn't happen that often, really. And, obviously St. John's now. But like I said, I mean, I just think St. John's has so much more experience, and I think that matters at this point in the dance. So I'm going to go with the Johnnies. I'm going to go against my original pick here. They're rolling. And like you said, Shire has a long life ahead of him in his coaching career. I think he'll get there eventually, but I think ultimately experience matters, and Pitino has one more deep run in the dance. So you're taking Duke, I'm taking St. John's here, and that's going to be such an exciting game with two storied people and programs.
Yeah, let me chime in on that real quick. I will be cheering for St. John's. I want Duke to lose, but at the end of the day, and we've learned this in college basketball, especially this year was really telling, talent still matters. If you have the best players on the court, you're going to find a way to win at the end of the day, and Duke has, again, the best player in college basketball. So I think it'll be a great matchup, him and Zuby. Like, that is probably the best big man matchup we will see all tournament.
Yeah,
Holy
looking
cow.
at the rest of these games, I mean, not many of these teams really have. I'm not going to say great big men, but I mean, those are two of the top five in the sport, arguably. So that'll be a great matchup in the front court.
Yeah, but I have Duke winning in a close one.
See, I'm going the opposite. I'm taking St. John's in a very close game. I want to roll into this Michigan State UConn game. This one hits home because obviously we just lost to Michigan State. I'm going to talk about Michigan State first, and then I'll roll into UConn. But Jeremy Fears is just the definition of an Izzo guard. He's scrappy. He facilitates so well. He broke a Michigan State, and he might have broke a tournament record against us. He had 16 assists. I mean, he was dishing it out all game. They had no problem taking care of business against us, and he just plays smart. Like, if somebody puts a shoulder into him, he flops, gets the foul automatically. He knows what it takes. I mean, his ball knowledge is just exceptionally well. Owen Carr is a man amongst men. Like, his motor is so high. Like, if he's on the floor and he's, you know, in flow state, if you will, then I have a hard time seeing anybody get beaten Michigan State, man. Like, they're a great program. Izzo knows what it is, and Cone Carr just gets them going on a whole nother level. Now, on the contrary, UConn, they played UCLA. They took care of business, no problem, in the Dickhead Bowl. The Caravan came off a career high. I believe he had 29, and I think that's good for UConn when one of your veteran guys comes off a big win or, a big accolade, if you will, big accomplishment. So I think that's going to have them rolling into this game. This matchup's going to be just as good as that Duke St. John's one. Both of these coaches knows what it takes to win this deep in the run of March, and I'm going to take UConn, but I'm not as confident as I was after watching them play Louisville, just because Jeremy Fears is rolling. Cone Carr, if he has another game like he did against us, I really don't know if anybody can beat them. But I'm going to roll with Hurley and the Huskies.
Yeah, I have Michigan State advancing in my bracket for one reason only. There's no other man I'd rather have on my sideline than Tom Izzo to get you to the Final Four as an underdog. And he will be an underdog going into this one. And that's it. That's my analysis. Even though Hurley has 2 national titles to his name, I still am leaning Izzo. The guy just finds a way to win in this month. And like you said, you saw firsthand what Michigan State is. And dare I say, and we'll keep looking at it into these other regions, but the Big Ten might have been a little bit underrated.
Yeah, I remember. I wasn't going to bring that up, but I was referring back to what you said about how they get beat when they play a more athletic team. And I mean, man, they got 6 teams in the Sweet 16. They're rolling this year.
Right hand up. That was a terrible take after my Florida one. So I guess you give and take. But yes, I do like the Spartans in this one. Something about this UConn team just kind of, I don't know, turns me away. Maybe it's their bad losses. I can't see them stringing multiple wins in a row in the big dance. Them playing a Big Ten team like Michigan State, granted, they just beat UCLA, Big Ten team, but that's different echelon of a Big Ten team in Michigan State, different echelon of a coach in Tom Izzo.
Absolutely.
I think Sparty will take care of business.
I don't hate that take. Like I said, I'm going to roll with UConn just because I had that in my original bracket, but I'm not as confident after seeing them play us, man. They're rolling right now. And they've got, man, it just seems like all of his players are willing to die for him. They love playing for Tom Izzo. And I'm not saying Hurley doesn't get that out of his guys or the other coach doesn't either. But, I mean, Izzo, you can just tell those guys love playing for him and they want to win for him. And the only other coach I can really think of in that regard is Kelvin Sampson. So there's something to be said about that.
And I think it's because Izzo's guys stay 4 years. Like, when has Tom Izzo ever had a one and done?
Right. I actually saw a graphic today. I think either his entire starting lineup or 4 out of the 5 are all true Michigan State guys. They started their career there and they're still there now. So that speaks volumes about his character as a coach and a person as well. just being able to retain his players.
Built by the Draymond Green culture.
Yeah, straight up, straight up. We can roll into the South bracket. I'm excited for this matchup. Man, this matchup is going to feed families in the heartland of America all night. Iowa versus Nebraska.
Mm,
This one's going to
yes.
be this one's going to be exciting to watch. Now, these are two incredibly underrated coaches. I mean, you got Hoiberg, who obviously was at Iowa State at one time. He went to the NBA, didn't work out. Now he's back at his alma mater, and they've had a great year. And hats off to them for beating Vandy, who is an absolutely great 5 seed. Now, on the contrary, Iowa just beat Florida. That's a great 1 seed SEC team. Hats off to you for that take. After watching them play, Bennett Sturts is a great player, man. He can shoot well, he can facilitate, and he's kind of what a guard in March is built for. Both of these teams are rolling. I'm interested to see what happens. My field pick is I'm going to roll with the Hawkeyes after just coming off that win against Florida.
Okay. Well, I would like to, preview this game by saying if you like jump stops, if you like screens, if you like charges, this is the game for you. This is cornfield basketball. Go watch the movie Hoosiers. That's a great preview to what we're going to see on the court this upcoming week between the Hawkeyes and the Huskers. A lot of deceptively athletic guys out there. If you can kind of feel where I'm going with this one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, this is going to be fun. It's going to be a fun game to watch. I think in a world where we do not have Cinderellas, you always want to try and find the team that gives you the best story. And I, for one, always respect a fan base that is there no matter what. Nebraska fans have been in a rotating pit of hell for 30 years when it comes to their football team. And now they've been thrown a bone with this basketball team. And my goodness, that was something to behold when they were playing Vandy. That crowd, man, I bet you it's going to be a sea of red. They're a team that is fun. They got the coach's son. I'm also biased to coach's sons too, because I was one. I like the Huskers. Give me the Huskers.
That's fair. Just one thing I'd like to add to this game is Volkaris. Is that the guy who hit the game-winning shot?
Yeah, pardon my lack of or ignorance when it comes to the pronunciation of his name. Yeah, Alvaro Fulgaris with a great shot, great play design too by Ben McCollum. And I don't know if you were in the basement, but I told Gabe, I'm thinking they got to go for the kill shot. They got guys with 4 fouls. Perfectly executed. It's going to be a lot of perfectly executed basketball. Like, this is going to be a chess match.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of guys who are going to be on the court who, quote unquote, play the game the right way. Really smart, sneaky, athletic guys like you were saying.
A lot of guys you'd want to date your daughter.
Yeah, but Bulgaris, I think so. He's not from America, and that was that game against Florida was like the second game that his mom's ever watched him play since he started playing collegiate basketball. So, and his dad passed away when he was 9. I noticed he looked up to the sky every time he hit a shot, and that's to honor his dad. He passed away when he was like 9 or 10 or something like that. But I thought that was really cool, and it was just cool to see that happen, since his mom was there, and that was only her second time getting to see her son play. Congratulations to those guys, and I hope they get it done against the Huskers.
Yeah, that's a really cool story. To be honest, we had the volume off. We saw him pointing. I didn't really, I guess put the pieces together on that one, but that is pretty cool.
Yeah, so I'm rooting for those guys when they play the Huskers. But Houston, Illinois, I mean, both of these teams have kind of coasted through their first 2 games. I really think Illinois matches up well with Houston. I know Houston has athletic bigs. I don't know if you saw, but Big Z dunked on that dude. He looks like he's got a lot more athletic. So I think, Illinois has really good defensive guards, and not to mention Keaton Wagler. He's kind of gone under the radar as far as, behind Acuff, Kingston Flemings, Michael Brown, all those elite freshman guards. He's one and the same with those guys, and Boswell is a great defender, their shooting guard. I would imagine they'll put Boswell on Kingston Flemings, which I think is a great matchup, but this one's going to be a dogfight. Both these teams want it bad, and I think this is the first legitimate game that both of these teams have had in the tournament, really, that they're not just coasting through. I like Illinois because that was my original pick. I know you're a Houston guy, so I just want to hear your analysis.
Well, again, the tournament's all about feel and somewhat biased, as you can tell by some of my early picks with all of my rivals going down. And I can go on for hours about how much I love the Houston fan base. But I'm still a sucker of what I saw Sunday, of what Big 12 pressure and Big 12 defense is. And I think that will, if it's anything like what Iowa State gave Kentucky, and we'll talk about Iowa State down the road, Houston's going to vacuum Illinois. If Houston can get this game up and down the court, then there's no chance Illinois can keep up. I'm sorry. I know Big Z well. I know he's matured, but at the end of the day, he doesn't like getting physical. Stojakovic, we've seen for years, doesn't really like getting physical. Is there a team in the country that gets more physical than Houston or has for the past 5 years? No. If
Honestly, I think they just played them in that 10 seed Texas A&M. Bucky ball is real physical, and there's something to be said about them beating them by 31 points because that's a great defensive team.
Yeah, and also that's what I'm saying. If Illinois and Brad Underwood's a great coach, he's not going to try and play Houston's game. Bucky ball is like, I don't care who's in front of you, we're going to play our style of basketball, which ultimately cost them.
Right.
So I if I'm Brad Underwood, I'm keeping this thing in the half court. You do not want to get physical with Houston because they will welcome it and torture you.
No, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. And like I said, the only reason I'm really going with Illinois is because I don't want to go back on my word, but Houston does look really good at the moment, and they look like the team to beat out of that bracket. Just looking at the seed lines and the matchups. So, I mean, I don't
It's their
hate
region to
Houston by any
lose.
means. Yeah, no, it really is. It really is. But my only thing about Illinois is if they can come out and shoot the ball well, I think they can score at all three levels, no problem. So if Stojakovic comes out and plays a good game, and they're able to just kind of mitigate the shots that Emmanuel Sharp and Kingston Fleming's put up, I feel like they can make it a super competitive game.
Yeah, we shall see. I'm rolling with the Cougars. You're rolling with the Illini. Two very underrated programs, I might add. Two
Yeah.
Final Four caliber programs that have been there before. So that'll be a good
Hmm.
one.
Absolutely. All right, we can roll into the West region, Arizona versus Arkansas. I'm going to keep this one kind of short because I really don't have much to say. I think Arizona's been the best team all year. I think they have the best players. They've got too many options on offense for Arkansas to handle, in my opinion. I will say Acuff is obviously going to go for 30. Like, that's a given. But he's also going to give up 30. I mean, I saw against High Point, like, he can't play defense that well. And it doesn't make sense to me because for a guy who's so athletic, and can just move so well on the court. He can't move his feet on defense, and I just don't understand that. But I don't think they're going to have an answer for Koa Pete in the post. I mean, that guy is an animal. I mean, I think he's had a double-double every game in the tournament this year, and I don't see that stopping against Arkansas. Trevon Brazil is a great player, but, I mean, Koa Pete is just next level. So I'm going to roll with the Wildcats out of Arizona, and I just don't really see Arkansas being able to keep up with them other than just Acuff giving them 30.
Please, Arizona, if you can hear me, please take care of business. Arkansas has the best player on the court. Shoot, debatably, they might have the best two players on the court. Y'all have the next best five players on the court. Y'all are the better team at the end of the day. Let someone other than Acuff beat you. If Malik Thomas has 30, you know what? That's a win. Get the ball out of Acuff's hands.
Mhm.
If I'm Arizona, I'm fine with Malik Thomas having 30 because that means Acuff wasn't shooting the ball.
Let me ask you a question real quick, and this is the question I said I was going to ask you before we got on air.
Boy, here we go.
Ok Okay, as a Kentucky fan who has dealt with the trials and tribulations of Cal's last 5 years at Kentucky, how mad or upset would you be if he won a national championship this year?
I'd be furious. I would openly admit I'd crawl to a ball and hide. That's probably one of the Twitter deleting moments as a fan. It would make us look like the biggest jackasses on earth. And I still think from a Kentucky's perspective, the divorce was needed. And we'll talk about Kentucky in the offseason. I'm just going to stay on Cal here. He needed this more than anyone. He was re-energized after the divorce. He was the one that got broken up with, looked in the mirror, and changed his ways. Keep in mind, I might add you, Arkansas has what, 2 freshmen? Cal teams at Kentucky were always better when he had players return. This is not a token one and done Kentucky Cal team that he plays 8 freshmen. They have 2, and 2 really good ones. Brazil's a senior, Ewan's a senior, Wagner's a junior, Richmond's a sophomore. I mean, it's not a normal Cal team, and he finally came to the realization that retention and the portal is how you win, and mix in a couple great freshmen, and that's why he has a good team. But that wouldn't have happened at Kentucky. So all you idiot Arkansas fans that were chirping us when he was here, honestly, props to you. You changed Cal for the better. I mean, y'all were still pretty bad last year, but you have a generational talent at point guard this year and are making a run. Granted, a 4 seed, y'all would be saying if Kentucky lost as a 4 seed with Darius Sacuff, I can hear all you idiot Arkansas rednecks saying, oh, most underachieving coach ever. How do you have a top 2 pick and lose in the Sweet 16s? Ball's in your court now.
Yeah,
Ball's in
good
your
luck.
court. I'm going
Good
to
luck.
return the favor. How do you have Malik Thomas and Darius Acuff and lose in the Sweet 16 if y'all do it?
Yeah, ball's in your court, Cal. Ball's in your court. But to sum that up, you would crawl into a ball and die.
That's a very strong word. I would probably go ghost. I would
Yeah.
chicken out from a Duke Arkansas national title is my worst nightmare.
It's not out of the realm
It's
of
not out of the
possibility,
realm.
so be determined, but give me the Wildcats at Arizona.
Yes, back to back. Arizona, please.
For sure. We got Texas and Purdue. Texas is my biggest surprise, man. I didn't even have them getting out of the first round. Honestly, didn't know if they were getting out of the first four. So hats off to those guys for making it to the Sweet 16. Nonetheless, I'm going to keep this one short too. I think the three-headed monster with Smith, Lawyer, and Kaufman-Wren is going to take care of business against Texas. They've been playing good ball. They beat Gonzaga by 6, but I think Purdue is good enough to just handle that one, no problem. So I don't know what you think.
I think it's going to be a lot closer than you think. I think that was a quick jump to Purdue. I would not be surprised if this is it. This is the sneaky game of the weekend. I could see this one going into double overtime, being a thriller with Purdue scaping out at the end. But man, Texas is just going to be there. They're a lot taller than I realized. You don't really see it until they play a team like Gonzaga, who's known for having great bigs. They got some height. I've always been a huge Tremont Mark fan, dating back to his days at Houston. I'll never
Mhm.
forget him torching Auburn, which had to have been his freshman year in hindsight in the round of 32 a few years ago, because he's been in college basketball for what it seems like a decade. But he's a great player. Sean Miller's a great coach.
I was about to say, I have to give them credit where credit's due. Sean Miller's a great coach, and I even honestly forgot he was coaching there. He's been around the block so much the last couple of years. So,
Great hire, but it is pretty lame that the one double-digit seed that we've had in this year's tournament is the team with probably the largest athletic budget in college athletics. Like, that
they're
is
gonna
kind of
throw
lame.
they're gonna throw a little bit more money into basketball after this run, regardless of whether it ends next weekend or they go even further. So, yeah, Texas will probably be here to stay going forward in college basketball,
I mean, that's a
unfortunately.
big money pro. And when I lived in Austin, man, through connections and being around like the entertainment sphere and stuff, there's some big money people who love basketball. It's not like like I can't see a big money person at LSU being into basketball at all. Clearly, why they are not good, but they in Austin they do. There's a big basketball circle there, and they're definitely passionate about their horns on the hardwood.
Well, I mean, in all reality, if they wanted to throw dollars at recruits and stuff, they could probably stay in the state of Texas as well and be like Florida is in football. You know what I mean? All those schools pretty much recruit in state. So, I mean, who knows, man? But I'm gonna pull Purdue for this one. Like I said,
Yeah.
I think the three-headed monster they have is gonna take care of business.
And last thing about Texas, that's why when the Field of 68 put out their ranking of the best jobs in the SEC and Texas was 2, I wasn't surprised. Because, like you said, there is a lot of in state talent in Texas. And I mean, Rick Barnes had him rolling. I mean, Shaka was pretty terrible. Beard would have had him rolling. I mean,
Who was the
they
guy
get
with
big names.
who was their coach before Sean Miller? I don't know why. He just kind of bothered me.
It was Beard's assistant. He was pretty terrible.
The dude with the glasses. I forget his
Yeah,
name.
nah. He got him to an Elite Eight, though.
That's true.
I mean, they're
That's true.
always just around.
They are. In every sport. In every sport. Yeah. So we're both taking Purdue for that one. We'll roll into the Midwest. Michigan versus Bama is two great coaches. Both of them have gone and had deep runs in the tournament. Here's my thing. Bama played a 13 seed Hofstra. I'm not saying they were bad. I'm not saying they didn't deserve to be there. Nonetheless, they were 13 seed. Best of, hats off to the Hofstra for making it to the dance. And then they beat the hell out of a Texas Tech team that didn't even have their best player. I think Michigan's run has been a little bit harder. I think St. Louis is a very good team, and they just absolutely annihilated them from start to finish. They scored a basket in like the first 2 seconds of regulation and then just took off from there. I think Michigan's going to be too much for them to handle in the front court, and I think Lindenborg is just balling right now. He postered that one kid for St. Louis, and man, just give me the Wolverines. I think Dusty May's going to get it done and make an even deeper run into the tournament.
Yeah, I think this is really going to be the game where Aiden Holloway's little incident will really show. I think this is a game where they would need him because if you want to be Alabama, I mean, it didn't stop them against Texas Tech. The only way Alabama wins this game is if they put up 100 points, and they would need Aiden Holloway to do that against a team like Michigan. So
Right.
I can't see with as good as a coach Dusty May is and as tall, athletic, and talented nonetheless Michigan is, I can't see a world where that happens. LeBaron Fallon's going to have the game of his life. I mean, he is a brash, outspoken player. He needs to come in like there's nothing to lose and probably drop 40. They need to have the game of their life. Or
Yeah,
he
yeah.
needs to have the game of his life.
I was about to say he needs to take this game personally for sure. And like Lindenborg's not a quiet guy either. I'm sure they've been chirping on social media or just behind closed doors for sure. So a lot of A lot of trash talk will definitely get talked in that game, and I think it'll be an exciting game to watch nonetheless, but I just think Michigan's too much to handle for Bama this year, and, you know, hats off to Bama on a great season. They could surprise us, but I think Michigan's going to the Final Four. So we'll move on from that, and we'll move on to Tennessee versus Iowa State. My only take that was really correct from our last episode is that Virginia would get beat pretty early on, and they did. Tennessee handled business there. Now, this game, I will say, I think it's going to be closer than people give credit for. I mean, I know Iowa State played damn near perfect in the second half against UK, and their guard had a career high in points and stuff like that without Josh Jefferson being there. To be honest, I don't know if he comes back, dude. I swear it looked like he rolled his ankle off the bone. So he might be out for this game. That'd be huge for Tennessee. If he's back, I don't really think it'll be that close of a game, but if he is out, then I think Gillespie and Boswell and Ament can keep it somewhat competitive. I think Iowa State ultimately will pull it out, but I think the Volunteers will keep it closer than people are going to give them credit for.
I actually am going to go the complete opposite route as you. I saw firsthand a press from an ACC team give Nate Ament and those boys fits. What I witnessed this past Sunday from TJ Altenberger in Iowa State was the greatest defensive performance in the history of the NCAA tournament. Turning Kentucky over 21 times, that looked like me in AAU basketball getting jumped. That was unbelievable. That was the greatest adjustment I've ever seen from a coach on the defensive end. And Tennessee, I mean, granted, has a good point guard in Gillespie, but he can't beat this press or this pressure by himself. They didn't really like press that much. It was more of just trapping, great rotations, just well coached. And they did all this with shooting horrible in the first half against Kentucky. If they shoot even somewhat respectable, I think it's a 20-plus win. I think Ament may walk out of this game with 12 turnovers and
That's a hot take. Oh my gosh.
and a poop stain going down his shorts because Iowa State is going to press and pressure the crap out of him. If they watch any film of that last 5 minutes of the Virginia game, I mean, he was just chucking the ball up in the air against a very weak pressure from Virginia. I can't imagine what this Big 12 heat will do to them. So I'm taking Iowa State. I am a fanboy for picking Kentucky to beat them in my bracket just out of the fact that I needed somewhere to stand out. You know, you got to pick something crazy to stand out in your bracket competitions. That was it because I was going to cheer for Kentucky no matter what. So, yeah, I'm a jackass. Iowa State's the real deal, even without their best player. Hawkeyes roll, or excuse me, Cyclones. My bad, all the people of Iowa.
Well, nonetheless, hats off to Rick Barnes and those guys for making a Sweet 16 for the fourth year in a row. But yeah, you're probably right. I think Iowa State will win.
How about
I
this? This little pocket, is this like the football school pocket? You got Bama, Michigan, Tennessee, and Iowa State's, I guess, debatable. I feel like if you ask Iowa
Man,
State
they've been competitive. They went to a Big 12 championship 2 years ago. And then, no, I'm sorry. Utah's coach went to Michigan. But their coach went to Penn State, Rocco Beck. So yeah, they were a good program.
I mean, there's a lot of football teams in this. Holy cow. Yeah, Michigan State. Nebraska's obviously football. Iowa's football. Texas, Tennessee, Bama. Wow, maybe
Quite a bit. Quite a bit.
That's it. But I feel like if you ask Arkansas fans, a lot of them would still lean football. I feel like they're a 50-50 school.
I don't know about now, not up to this year, but yeah, I mean, historically, I would say for sure. So that's pretty much where we're at with the bracket. I want to ask you, who has been your biggest surprise thus far?
Well, I guess it'd be crazy not to say Texas.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like I said, I didn't even have them getting past BYU, let alone Gonzaga, and they've completely surprised me. So hats off to Sean Miller and those guys.
I mean, I'm not surprised that they beat BYU. I put out that reel today that I thought that DeBanza would be 1 foot out the door playing whatever 11 seed that they would face. Again, proud of myself. I'll give myself flowers. I called that BYU would be a 6, losing to an 11 a month ago. I was wrong about DeBanza. He balled out, but Texas, yeah, give Sean Miller credit. There'd been a surprise. Honestly, I'm surprised with the way Bama has really, still been Bama despite the
Held it
loss
together.
of Aiden Holloway. So I put them at the number 2 surprise. And then, dare I say, is Nebraska a surprise? I thought Vandy would beat them. A lot of people thought they'd lose that 4-13 game.
Yeah, I don't know. I think my whole thing with Nebraska and that Vandy game specifically is, I mean, the SEC gets way more views in general than, Nebraska basketball. I mean, historically, they're not good, so I really doubt their following was that big at the beginning of the year. I know they've been ranked all year, but the point I'm getting at is a lot more eyes have probably seen Vanderbilt basketball than Nebraska basketball this year. So I think that's why everybody was kind of under the impression that Vandy was going to win. But I mean, man, Fred Hoiberg's a great coach. I mean, he's done this before, so I don't know, man. Somewhat of a surprise just because of their the historical aspect, but man, they're a good team this year. They shoot the ball well, and hats off to them on beating Vandy. I mean, that's no easy task, So
No, Vandy was a top 25 team the entire year. Some notes that I'm looking at when you look at the rest of the field is outside of the East region, we're going to have some fresh teams in the Final Four this year, especially in the Midwest. It's going to be one of Tennessee, Bama, Michigan, Iowa State.
mm-hmm.
But that's a fresh team. And then you look up, you got the winner of Nebraska and Iowa is going to be in the Elite Eight over there in the, help me out here, I'm blanking.
That's the South.
The South. Yeah, so there's going to be some new faces, which is, I guess, a good thing. We won't have a blue blood heavy Final Four. Leads me into another point. What a rough tournament it has been for the Blue Bloods. Kentucky out, Kansas out, Carolina out.
Not only, yes, the Blue Bloods, but not only them, the teams that just spent money on their rosters this year. I mean, I know Kentucky was high, BYU was high, Indiana was high. They didn't even make the tournament. Louisville was high. All those teams were round of 64, round of 32 exits, or a team that didn't even make the playoffs. So, I mean, it's just kind of one of those things that, as a fan of the sport, I'm glad to see that, money can't buy you a championship. But also, I think there's a lesson to be learned for these coaches and players that you need to go play for coaches who are willing to invest in you and not just in a monetary value.
I hear you. This is something I always like to play as a fan, especially when my team's not in it, to kind of get me, still locked into the tournament. Because it is hard once your team loses to watch. It's like looking outside the window at prom, seeing your ex-girlfriend dancing with someone else. This is sort of what it feels like. You didn't get invited to the dance, whatever. What do you think the biggest story, if you are a Hollywood writer, and shout out to our friend of the show, Josh Hopkins, this would be a great question for him. What would be the greatest story you could craft up with this remaining field?
Pitino versus Calipari national championship. Those guys have had history since Providence versus UMass, man. I mean, obviously Louisville versus UK. I mean, the history there, both those guys coached at UK. They coached against each other their whole careers. I mean, they don't like each other. There's all kinds of YouTube videos and stories about that online. So I think if you're a story writer, that's exactly what you would want to happen. And honestly, that's what I want to happen. I mean, I'm pulling for Ricky P, white suit, but as a Louisville fan, I'm hate watching, and I would like to see Arkansas make a run.
Yeah, I thought you were about to say Nebraska because they'd be a good story, right? If they were to get to Indianapolis, I think the entire Lucas Oil Stadium would be red.
That would literally be like Indiana winning the national championship in football this year, like the exact equivalent. Terrible historic program, good coach, brings them out of purgatory. So I see what you're saying there.
But gosh, what a great call on the Cal Pitino thing. And also, keep in mind, these two are, we mentioned this last episode, these two are in a race. They're the only two coaches that have brought three different schools to Final Fours. They could, the first one to get to four, I think, because Pitino's at 1.5 national titles, Cal's at 1. I think Cal has more Final Fours than Pitino by default, by technicality. So I think this rivalry may be decided by this tournament. Both very even on the seed line, both playing great one seeds, both coming towards the tail end of their careers, and their last dance, not this season be their last dance, but their last chapter of their careers with these programs. This really could lean the rivalry one way or another forever, or how we will remember it. So that's a great call.
That would be I bet that would be the most viewed national championship game of all time if those two guys made the championship.
Do you think it'd be more viewed than Arkansas Duke would be?
I think it would be 100% just because, even I feel like the regular college basketball fan knows that these guys have had history and have had beef in the past and have so many stories of coaching against each other's. I mean, as a basketball fan, I would love to see that, but also just as a fan of a team who has history with both of these guys, I would love to see that even more.
Kentucky and Louisville fans, that would suck.
That would suck. That would suck. That would make both of us look like jackasses. Like you were talking about how Kentucky would look stupid if Cal made it to the championship. That would also make us look stupid, even if it wasn't really our decision at the end of the day, but still.
I think, and this is an off-season topic, I still think y'all are more jackasses for getting rid of Jurich. I think he was just thrown under for no reason. I think Pitino had to go at Louisville at the time. I mean, that was too much.
Yeah, you couldn't stay. You just had no other option at that point in time, right?
So what would be any other dramatic What if Michigan and Michigan State played each other in the national title? Would that
That'd be huge for all those guys up north, all those Yankees. I know they would love to see that. Honestly, I would too. That'd be such exciting. Dusty May's kind of a newer coach. I mean, he's been to a Final Four, but I mean, a newer coach, and then you've got a guy who's just got so much history and is so beloved by a fan base in Michigan State and Tom Izzo. So that would be very interesting to see.
I mean, I'm looking at this holy rivalry possibilities. I mean, this is probably the least likely, but Iowa and Iowa State are still in the tournament together. You got the Michigan schools. I believe all the Big Ten schools, and this is for you that play the NCAA video game, they all have a trophy for their rivalry game. So I think they're all somewhat rivals at the end of the day.
Mm.
And there's 6 of them. I think they all collectively hate Michigan and Ohio State.
Yeah, I think that's the general consensus. Obviously in football, but I think that boils over to basketball as well, especially for Michigan. And I
Yeah.
mean, I got to give Ohio State their flowers. I mean, I think they are tied for like 6 for the most tournament appearances. So I mean, they're no stranger to the big dance. But also, this isn't really a rivalry, but it'd be a cool story: Texas versus Houston, just being in the same state. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but still.
What a power play by Houston getting to play in their own backyard.
That's
Like
huge.
what? They forgave the title host school, so now they get to go play at Toyota Center down the street. That's also another thing. I can't believe we didn't mention that when talking about the South, that Houston is basically playing a home game.
But honestly, I didn't really know that. That kind of makes me want to change my change my pick, but I'm not going
No, no,
to.
don't go back.
No,
Don't go
I'm
back
not.
now.
I'm not. But dang, I did not know that. Yeah, yeah, that sucks.
Man, I think Tennessee making the Final Four would also suck for me. Is there something for you that would be Arkansas Duke level crawl into a hole? I feel like Louisville, none of
I mean,
y'all's. I guess the St. John's thing,
I mean,
maybe.
I'll say. I mean, I for me, I guess it would just be Duke winning the national championship. We haven't beat Duke since 2020, right before COVID, and they 30 balled us at Cameron this year. I hate Duke, and honestly, I want to see them lose so bad to St. John's, but probably just them winning and Shire and Boozer just making out on the stage when they get the trophy. And Boozer's dad getting in there, I hate Duke, so probably them winning would be the biggest upset for me, as a fan.
Oddly enough, I feel like this is the most likable bunch of Duke players I can recall in my lifetime. I
Yeah, all of them
really
are respectful young men. I mean, like,
It's not even that. It's just like the Boozer twins actually are not hateable. Is that like the Zion effect was so thrown in your face? He became annoying after a while. Don't get me started on the Jaleel Okafor Tyus Jones team.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna start to hate him if I see him in another damn State Farm commercial. I can't stand to see. I feel like it's every other commercial,
And
bro.
how awkward are those commercials too? Here's my pizza. I like it. You should buy it.
Yeah,
All of those college basketball players commercials are terrible.
yeah. Those guys don't have enough PR training for that. They're just like,
It's like
oh my gosh, we'll stole you some money.
It's like the SNL skit where they have the parent and then the player on. It's like, I sacrificed my kid's entire personality for them to get a D1 scholarship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's literally the epitome of these kids.
I guess like you gotta give and take. I mean, and especially I feel like football players have way more personality, but basketball players do not.
Yeah, most definitely. Well,
You kind of, you kind of,
same with the coaches, though. Really, I mean, other than like the dickhead bowl, I feel like college football coaches have so much more personality.
you say that, dude. There are some characters.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, I'll say they're more nerdy, but like even Sam Pittman, who's not a good football coach, really just got fired. I'm gonna go drink me a cold beer in this
Would say
press game.
yes. If football coaches are way more charismatic than basketball
Unhinged,
coaches,
unhinged, I guess, if you will.
I think you kind of have to be a total douche to be a successful basketball coach, college basketball coach.
Narcissist for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I guess to close out, I'd be reluctant if we didn't mention like what would you say your game of the tournament was so far, and or any other hot takes up to this point to close things
Man,
out.
I think I've got 2 or 3 just off the top of my head. That St. John's, Kansas game was an amazing game. I mean, you had so many high-class players and then 2 of the best coaches of our generation. So, the buzzer beater obviously was great. Iowa, Florida was a big game just because I was rooting for you because of your take, and, I just don't I'm not really a fan of Florida basketball, so it was cool to see Iowa win. That was a great game. And then that shot from Tyler Tanner, I thought was going in wholeheartedly. Like, I thought he hit that when it was midway through the air, I was like, "Oh my gosh, they're about to do it." And, it went in and out like a fast food restaurant. So those are the 3 off the top of my head, all around of 32 games. What about for you?
Well, the reason I asked this is because I'm going to get my money's worth with my emotional hedge I put on Kentucky against Santa Clara to at least barely mention it. That was the whole purpose of this question. And then we could veer back towards what's ahead. But yeah, the Otega Oweh shot against Santa Clara, even though we laid an absolute egg and ended the season in a vintage dumpster fire, that's a game that I will be able to hold on to for a while. Again, wanted to get my money's worth. I'm done emotionally hedging. That was painful this year. Oddly, every game we won is when I did it. I would like to think I'm not a curse, but I'm very superstitious. You know what? Screw it. I may do it against Arkansas. I think it's gotten to that point.
Hell yeah, throw 10 to win 90 cents.
Shoot, might as well, bro. Like, this is playing into both. We made a skit that I thought was going to boom, but didn't. The making fun of the NBA players, talking about who's going to win the championship, and all the Kentucky players saying Arkansas. As a non-Kentucky fan and rival Kentucky, do you think that's funny? Do you find that amusing, or you're like, I don't care?
I mean, I don't really care, but I think it's kind of a bad look for the program specifically that, like, those guys just absolutely die for Cal. Personally, like, I was thinking about it, if I was in your shoes, that would really get underneath my skin as a fan. Nonetheless, I mean, I get it. Like, Cal recruited those guys. He got them to where they are. I mean, not saying the program didn't do that, but I mean, he was the coach. So, like, I get where they're coming from, but that would get underneath my skin wholeheartedly.
My view with it is simple. I think it's a total slap in the face to a bunch of hardworking people who spent their last dollar to go watch you play. Because both of us are from there. Kentucky's not a very wealthy state. Like, going to the SEC tournament and going to these games and traveling is a big deal. And Kentucky fans are more passionate than anyone. So I think you giving ammo to a rival school, and basically when every other player says they're alumni and you kind of just push us off to the side after we supported you. I mean, shoot, dude, there's multiple times as a kid I waited 2 hours in line and paid money to get an autograph from one of these guys. I mean, Tyler Hero comes to mind, and he said Arkansas. Dude, no one from Little Rock was doing that for you, bro.
Well, what I was about to say too is, like, I'm sure when Arkansas fans heard that, like, I would love to hear their opinion. Like, if, we post a clip of this, but, like, I'm sure they were like, "What the hell?" Like, they were like, "What the hell?" Like, you didn't even go here
Yeah,
in
and
a
I'm
way,
not. No, I think they love it. I would
probably.
sneaky love it if I was them. But I'm not trying to be like the toxic ex. I'm just legit speaking on behalf of other people. Like, man, this fan base loves their play. This fan base, as a Kentucky, loves their players. I think it's a just total stab in the back, and honestly very disrespectful. If you're gonna say you're cheering for, say, Calipari, say I'm cheering for my coach and my school, you just saying Arkansas, I think, is completely disrespectful.
Well, those guys won't be asked to come back, and, the university and the state in general probably won't have much for them going forward.
I mean, yeah. It's especially Arkansas, who was so envious of Kentucky for all these years. They were just always jealous. They hated Cal more than anyone too, because when he was at Memphis, and that used to be a
Mm,
rivalry, and he cut it off. And every time we'd go to Bud Walton, it would just be the most hostile, like, vicious environment. And I just can't wrap my head around them saying openly that they're cheering for that school. Just say Calipari, man. Just say Calipari. I can't believe they would just throw that away and just disrespect a fan base that loved them, adored them, would do anything for them, still supports them. I think it's totally disrespectful. There's my rant. You got anything else?
well, Tyler Harrow, if you hear us, Trey's flipping you the bird right now, boy.
I
No,
mean,
no, I'm done. I'm done. I've got nothing else to add.
bro, like, let's say Rick Pitino came back to Kentucky. Like, Peyton Siva said he'd cut ties with Rick if he did that. When that was like kind of a rumor when after Cal left. I remember
If
him tweeting that.
Patino if Patino went back to UK, I would be absolutely pissed. I would be livid. But he kinda already, like, I'm not gonna say he, like, went back, but he did, you know what I mean? And, like, spoke so highly of Pope. Obviously, that was his player, so I get it. But, like, as a fan of a team that he coached for 15, 16 years, I was like, "What the fuck?" Excuse my
Yeah.
language.
Ah, all good. Well, we are less than a week and a half away from the season being over. Sucks that both of us are on the sideline, but utterly disappointing seasons. I think, from my perspective, a lot of Kentucky fans are glad the season's over because we don't want to see that product anymore. I think for both of us, it was a good time to move on. So I'm glad we were able to look ahead to the teams that actually deserve to be there. Yeah, I'm looking forward to a great couple of weeks. You got a take to wrap things up?
The last thing I'll say is if St. John's and UConn both win and they play in the Elite Eight, it's hard to beat a good team 3 times. That's where I think UConn has a chance to go to the Final Four. But that's to be determined, and I know we'll talk about that on a later episode. So no, that's it.
Yeah, I think it is Arizona's tournament to lose. How about that take?
I agree. I mean, I've been saying all year that they're the best team in the country, and I still think they're going to win the championship. I had them in my brackets.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening or watching wherever you partaked in this episode. We appreciate you guys still showing love on Instagram, all the social medias. Feel free to follow us, like, share, subscribe, comment. It was a blast to get to meet some of you guys a couple weeks ago at the SEC tournament, and it's still a blast to interact with you guys online. And although the season's coming to an end, stay tuned for a ton more content. We'll have one more episode before the season's over. But with that being said, from Trey and Keaton here in the Chesterfield basement, thank you guys and deuces.
Adios.